The open support given by the Prime Minister of Pakistan to the Taliban has international repercussions. The international world clearly still considers the Taliban to be terrorists. European countries and the US have grown increasingly conscious of this. Previously, in appreciation of Pakistan's assistance in Afghanistan's battle against terrorism, the European Union designated Pakistan as a Generalised Scheme of Preferences (GSP) country. As a result, Pakistani products in European nations were not taxed, like in other countries. This greatly increased Pakistan's exports. However, the European Union is currently preparing to revoke Pakistan's GSP concession, and has now begun an anti-Pakistan campaign. Meanwhile, the US also introduced a bill in US Senate seeking sanctions on the Afghan Taliban. If the bill gets support from both houses and is signed into law, the US president will have the power to impose sanctions on individuals who provide military, training or logistical support to the Taliban or provide safe haven to their fighters. Reaction from high-ranking US officials. A former US National Security Advisor, H.R. McMaster, has advised lawmakers against any fresh aid to Islamabad. He stated, "I think we should hold Imran Khan accountable for his comments when Kabul fell. I do not think we should provide assistance to Pakistan at all. I think Pakistan has had it both ways for far too long." He said they should be confronted with international isolation because of their support for jihadist terrorists, who are threats to humanity, including the Haqqani network, the Taliban, and groups like Lashkar-e-Taiba. He said, "We're in a situation where we're facing a really extraordinary dilemma, that it's going to be tough for us to mitigate the humanitarian crisis without empowering the Taliban." He also said it is a good idea to remove Pakistan's status as a major ally outside NATO. By remembering President Trump's August 2017 address, he stated that the proper approach to Pakistan was the suspension of all aid until Pakistan altered its conduct fundamentally. Congressman Bill Keating said, "Pakistan remains a problem, and that the United States must assess it." He said, "Its long-standing activities, by many accounts, have been negative, and for decades, whether you go back to '96, when the Taliban took control, Pakistan was one of the first to recognize them." He also stated that Pakistan's link with the Haqqani network is of considerable worry, and it is affecting the US-India relationship in this respect. Former US Ambassador to Pakistan, Ryan Croker, acknowledged that Pakistan was working against the US in some very basic aspects with their support for the Taliban. Recently, Philip Duinter, a senator from Belgium, slammed Pakistan's terrorism while talking to the media. He said, "Pakistan is a terrorist country and no relations can be maintained with such country that has been supporting international terrorism," saying that it has happened in the past and would continue to happen. Duinter called for a complete boycott of Pakistan. He also underlined the threat to the European countries from the Taliban regime in Afghanistan. Meanwhile, the Pakistani Prime Minister claimed that, sooner or later, the United States will have to recognize the Taliban government in Afghanistan. But, however, there is a strong possibility that European Union member states will also take the initiative to impose strict sanctions on Pakistan in the near future. This might be a major setback for Pakistan. Some of Pakistan's prominent intellectuals and journalists are warning the Pakistani government that the country may have to pay a high price, because the world believe that Pakistan is as dangerous as the Taliban and poses military, terrorist and security threats to the world. Also, some analysts claimed, since the Taliban gained control of Afghanistan, the strength of terror organizations in Pakistan and Jammu and Kashmir has grown. However, the Pakistani administration utterly disregards the warning.